It's a little nuts. So, I was looking at the round ornament one, and I don't know if that's the one that you did for me, Chris, or I thought I had it and I just went and looked on my hard drive and there's like 3 minutes of a video and it's like, no. So, all right, we need to get moving on this because I have a feeling it's going to go over just because there is a little bit of hand sewing, but I'm going to switch over because I'm going to show you how to do tri-colored cording. Not that you guys don't know how to do it, but I moved my tack that I had here last night. All right, get a couple tacks here. So here is our, oh, I gotta move my view, other camera. All right, so here we are. Please let me know if it's clear. Looks relatively crisp. And of course, if I go off camera, definitely chime in.
It looks good, Kelly.
Okay, good. The interesting thing with doing cones like this or anything that we do that is pointed, the biggest issue that we have is going to be getting a point. This is not going to be pointed the way people think it is pointed because we have to leave a hole at the top and all of that. So let's get going with the cording because we have 3 colors to unfurl. And since we don't have to do a whole ornament, we're just doing the loop at the top and we're doing the bottom, which ends up being about a 4-inch round. So maybe I should keep it where I normally have it. All right. Now, if you decided to do this piece as a stand-up, you could do exactly what we were talking about a second ago, where you put a weight in the bottom. I think for this, because we're doing tricolor, we only want to do 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Usually I do the entire skein, but with 3 colors, that would be almost like, what, 30? No, 3 times 18 total. So yeah, that's gonna get way too thick. Go ahead and cut your loop. And sorry, I'm just trying to do a setting thing here. Bear with me. This does not look this springy, so I'm going to not worry about taping it. Usually I tape the end of it, but sometimes it can be hard to get apart. And I don't know how do you guys feel about doing the tricolors? Is it something you even bother with, or one, two?
We pretty much always do the tricolor.
Do you? How do you guys feel about when you marry it together? Because I find it difficult.
It-
If I use Krynic, it doesn't seem to be too difficult when I do tricolor.
Yeah.
Because I think the metal in the Krynic, it kind of grasps the pearl and helps keep it pretty even and smooth.
Well, what I mean is that as far as trying to end on the correct color can be really difficult, so that you don't have two of the same color. And I also find that like right next to each other. And I also find that something about it, because you use less strands, it compresses, you know, you just have smaller cords there. And so it's kind of more difficult to marry them together and have it look utterly seamless. I find I have to manipulate it more, especially on small pieces, not necessarily pillows, just because the smaller the cording, the tighter the wind of it is, and the less malleable it likes to be to how I kind of shove them all together and make it. I hope I don't regret doing this view. But you know what? This kind of, I just don't want a giant cord on this thing. Personally. Okay, main reason to put the tape on, it keeps your ends from getting all squirrely. Some are long, some are short. What the heck? All right, so now we're going to take our fishing line. Chopped it off, and definitely remember to be careful with dealing with these ever loving, why does it do this? Come on. Ends, because they're hot. A lot of times I just wait until it's halfway cool. So that metallic, it's a Lulu. All right. So we smooth it all out. Gosh, maybe I should have, other people that are gonna get this video and not because they couldn't attend, will want to see, might want to see tri-colored cording. So how many of you have learned the limit of number of colors that you can have for a twisted cord? went beyond tricolor.
4?
Yes, more.
No, 4. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
5 is the maximum you can do. Because what happens is when you get to 6, that's when it wants to bury 1 and have the 5 wrap around the 1. The odd, the 6. I had somebody in there, like, they sent me so many colors for this pillow. Actually, it's the same place for this. And I said, you literally cannot twist 6. You can only twist 5. If there is a way to do it, I never figured it out. And I was pretty good with not figuring it out because it's a handful when you're trying to do this, to have that many colors out there. Don't even bother trying to use a drill on it because the end of it is so wide where you tape it all together with all the tape. Tape. And yes, I am not bothering with drill today. I took my my Tylenol so that my hands would function, so I should be okay for now. And actually, I still have to make the cord for the pillow tonight, so that's what I'm doing after this class. Not looking forward to that. Talk about avoidance. Smooth them out, and I like to stack them. I try to use the fiber as it's layered within the fishing line so that I don't get any little weird pieces jutting up in there. And when you do really long cords, you know exactly what I'm talking about. All of a sudden you're winding something and you look down at the vise and it's picked up one of the other colors. It's like, no. Just keep walking it back. Now, I don't know about you guys, but what I tried to do with mine, because another reason I don't love tricolor is because if you don't have a really controlled turn, then you have to go back through and manipulate it. I did not do 4 pieces of tape. That was brilliant. You have to try to get your them all in a line again because somebody skipped ahead. And when it's on really long cording, it can be a pain because it might jump twice. And then your cording kind of doesn't look right when you do it. But I try to make it look like a little triangle and when I stack it so that I don't have to go back through and redo it. I actually think that's a pretty perfect size for this. Okay, so next, make sure your iron is on and steamy. Make sure. Yeah. Okay. We're just gonna cut this out. So ever since the Limoges box, I have questioned how I do certain things and dealing with turning them right way out. And avoiding the sewing machine at all cost, etc. And I questioned how I was doing this. And then I decided that sorry, it's being silly. Then I decided, you know what? No, the reason that I like doing it the way that I do it is because it doesn't come out of block and it works. So what we need, which of course is my tracing paper. This is actually, oh, it just went right out of my head. It's not parchment, it's vellum that you can get at Staples, and it's much thicker. It's plastic, so you're not going to go through it, whatever this vellum is made of. And I have lost everything, my mind this morning. So, and it's supposed to like be able to go through your printer. So we're going to get our general size. Now, because this has to fit down in. One of the things you'll notice is when you fold these up, the bottom isn't going to stay as round as you think it will. You end up having to fold part of a lip over, if I remember correctly. So we're going to just use this as a template. Should we do it that way? Sorry, again, haven't done one of these in a while. Let's nip this out. We don't mind, we don't worry about the straight edge because we are going to keep this straight. We don't want it to really be forgiving and bendy when we stuff it. Anytime you do points, whether it is sewing on a machine, like say you're trying to do a stuffed stand-up and it's got points out to it, don't stitch all the way to the end. That way your fabric will turn out nicer and you'll get a little more point out of it because that won't be bound so hard here. Sometimes a half an inch even. If you feel like, oh man, I'm getting too far out, and as you're writing it, then you can just put a single stitch in, but not have all of the extra that's there. So when you write things out that have points in them, don't use your machine all the way to the end. Go to here and then stop, jump, do your locking stitch, jump over, locking stitch, and do the other side. If it's something you're stuffing, obviously I'm not talking about for this cone, but because it just really helps when you're trying to write pointy things. And also, I do not go all the way to the end with foam core in pointy on the inside when you wrap it around foam core. I don't put the foam core all the way to the end. Sometimes I blunt end it and don't put a tip on it, because when you turn over all of the little waste canvas bits at the end, it will be solid enough just with that alone to support. And then you're going to have a board on the back side. So then you don't have to bother or worry about making sure that there's, it's stable, that it's filled with a piece of. Just make sure to put a stitch in to the back fiber or back fabric to make sure that tip stays where you want it, or as you're doing cording around, make sure for the same thing. It's also how you can do extremely thin areas of like 6 stitches. Don't even bother putting in an ornament. Don't even bother putting something on the inside of it. We're just going to turn all this under and steam it. Don't, but don't even bother to put something inside of it. All of that extra, you could put a thin piece in there if you wanted to, but when you turn over all of this canvas, then you put the board for your backing behind it, it will have the support. That's how when I talk about the toughest finish that I've ever done, which was the martini glass, that's how I did the martini glass stem, is I didn't even put anything in it. I used the back piece to be the stable piece. So now what we have to do is we literally are folding over the tip, because when you roll it all together, you need a hole at the top for the twisted cord. And I'm just looking at my it doesn't have any ribbons. So this ought to be fun, trying to hide our mechanics. So let's go ahead and I'm going to re-steam that. For as much as people don't like bows, there are times when bows are wonderful. Yeah, I'm actually going to do this just like an eyeglass case, basically. Definitely, if you're going to line something like this, you want that tracing, because otherwise you get it all together. It's not like an eyeglass case where it's rectangular. You want to have a pattern to do the interior. There are some cones that are specifically gifty that way. That they've been designed that way. I actually think it would be very cute to line something like this. You line it and then you could hang a bell down the inside of it so it would tinkle when it moved. You could put it as a door hanger or something like that versus just a standard ornament. Okay, so we are going to, this is the thick interfacing. It's probably a 1/16 inch thick. It's very, very firm. It is not fusible. Don't get the fusible because it's a lot thicker, a lot thicker. And face down always to make sure that we get the right shape. I love how I think, oh, I'm going to teach it like this. And then when I go to do it, I'm like, yeah, no, I think I'm going to do it this way. And I totally confuse you guys. I'm sorry. So we're going to come in 1/4 of an inch. That's pretty close. I think what we're going to do, because I can't really totally remember about the cone thing. I just remember on those ones, it did not end up round unless I rolled down the one edge. We're going to do the sides. And then well, you know what we can do? We have to break this down anyways, because, and when I mean break it down, we're going to put our curve in it now so that there's not any weird kinks in it when we go to, okay. I know, why have a flat piece when you're just going to do it? And this is why. You can see it just naturally doesn't have, it's stiff, you know, isn't going to just naturally curve unless we break down and soften it up a little bit. Still need that support in there though. I just don't want this edge to be like really weirdly stiff. No, I guess it will. Good designer. Okay, then we're not going to worry about it. We're going to just glue it all in. What I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to bring this side over and push it right up against the edge. Then put my glue on. One of the things that I learned with my lobster traps is that when you put something like this inside of something that curves, it needs a little room to be able to contract, I don't know, to shift within the inside. How's that? I'm gonna pull that up a little higher. Because as we bring it around like this, it will, come on. You'll see. We want this edge to meet here when the volume is less, the area is less when it curves. Like you literally can't curve it if you make it from side to side. It'll just kind of bind it and be a pain. It's a little tricky to get this over to this other side, but I'm going to start at this top. As you can see how far away, see that dark line? We're going to roll this and push it right up into against that interfacing, that heavy stuff. Come on, we're going to try. There. Now, you'll see that it's kind of loose here now, but that's okay. Like there's a little gap there. That's all right. We're good with that. Okay. We're gonna need our dowel needle soon. I'm gonna put that there. I'm gonna bend this, and I can tell I have to take some of this waste canvas out. It's just gonna be too thick up there. Tones, points, all of this hard stuff. Not easy, not easy. Get some pins here. No, even though, sorry, pin in my mouth. Can't get my face in there. All right, one thing we are going to do is we're going to get these corners glued down. They won't move as much as this part. We have to glue these after, once it's curved, because then that interfacing will be against that area. So put a little glue along there, and these will be fine. Because what we're going to do is we're going to partially stuff it so that we have something to hold on to as we're working on it.
Kelly, we can't see what you're bending.
Sorry.
No problem.
Thank you. I forgot I moved the camera. So we're going to do this corner. And even if this interfacing, because you can see it's a little bit away from probably about an 1/8 of an inch from the interfacing, that's okay, because there will be foam core in the bottom. to lend support to it. It really wouldn't be a big deal if it was just like I said, did more of a bell-like thing. Uh, and you were lining it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Okay. So now we're gonna bring this around. Yep. Going to try to pin it. I don't want to work super hard trying to. Can you even see in there? Just sit forward so that it'll focus. I don't want to fight with my fishing line trying to get these tight together. I want to still try to keep them a little curved in towards each other. So I'm putting the pin in and trying to rotate that waste canvas in if it is there. I don't want to have to go back down it again once it's stuffed, because I can see waste canvas. And that's where some people would say, well, if you just machine sew it, but you just can't you don't have the control to make sure that where these come together, they should come together where the stitches meet. Eek. Come on. I don't know if you guys have how you do brick covers, like standard brick covers, but I have never been able to do it on a machine because I just don't, you can't match the corner stitches up the same way you can by doing it by hand. You see what's happening here, right? It's going to be a battle to roll these in. Come on. Why is it so not focusing? Or maybe it's my glasses. I don't know. Ugh. Okay. All right. Let's sew. And if you didn't know already, the class supply lists are on my website under Zoom classes. Under each picture of the class, it has a button with the class supply list there. Still have to go in and edit that one that talks about the exact name of the something. Oh, of the hard and the heavy interfacing. I have to go into Joann's to actually look at the packaging to make sure it's the one that I use. All right. Basically, I believe I'm doing the ladder stitch all the way up. And as we go, let's try to roll these. I need a little more light. Of course, it's probably overcompensating for you guys, but try to keep, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, of keeping your stitches hidden. If you're concerned about the fishing line, use a green that is a green thread that is the, I think it's the upholstery weight that's really, really heavy. If you're concerned about seeing the shine of the fishing line, sometimes you just see it and there's nothing we can do about it. And I will go up and back again just to make sure that it's a good strong seam, because we're going to be stuffing it and it's just no easy way to hold this thing. I don't know about you guys, but it is a fabulous weather day here. And people are like, oh, you're going to get out in this? No. You got people to hang out with and finish with. Are you kidding? I got stuff to do. My family has too long of a history of skin cancer, so I am not going to go roast on a beach. I'm all set. Actually, my daughter walked home from work the other day and she burnt through her shirt because she is half Irish. And she got all of the fun stuff from her dad on that one. Poor thing. Felt bad for her. See, and I don't know that I left enough room in there because it's all that interfacing's like, eh. Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. I gotta move you back a little to my knee. Come on, focus. Come on. Focus, focus. The reason I'm pressing it like this is I want that to be a flattened seam. I don't want it to look like that. I know it will pull forward once we that's a big jump. Once we stuff it. Mm.
Kelly,
Yes.
while you're stitching that, would this be a similar process that I would use for that hot air balloon that I have to finish, that I stitched?
um yes.
Okay, great.
The hot air balloon. Oh yes. Actually, you know what, hon? It's not, because you don't put the interfacing in it. But and so I'll kind of shift gears on that. I actually have one of my toppers that has that same thing between the mesh between the peaks. And the biggest trick to doing the hot air balloons or those pears or, things of that, the crib ornaments that have those little silo tops on it. The key trick to those is to do not cut the waste canvas between the peaks. Just bend it in the middle the wrong way so that you just fold it back in and then sew the two sides together. You fold down each peak so they fold back in towards each other. Because if you start cutting the waste canvas in between those peaks, they end up shredding terribly when you try to go to the bottom. So what I discovered is over time was that you just fold it so that the sides come together. And then once you've sewn down and back, you end up cutting them, giving a few darts after. Just don't cut the stitches that you just put in to hold the whole thing together. Because I accidentally have done that a couple times. I'll admit to it. Didn't just do it once, I did it a couple times. But you have to use these same kind of tricks at the top because of just the mass of all of those little parts coming together at the top. There's naturally like a little hole, but that's going to be one of my videos soon, is to show how to finish my topper ornament. And also to try to help with your ornament that you're talking about. I think it's so interesting that maybe they never went out of style, but it can be very difficult to find someone to finish certain things because they only want to do the gravy ornaments that are easy. So finding it's not always easy for shops to find people. Other big places will do them, but they can also be so cost prohibitive for finishing. So that's why a lot of places, oh, we only do rounds or we only do square, they only want to do the simple stuff. They don't want to do stuff like this because it takes more time and it takes away from the production aspect of getting stuff cranked out. Of course, people can get an ornament done in an hour and a half. They're all rounds. Just look at the gingy we did yesterday, that shaped ornament. They take a long time.
Yeah, this is Margaret. I did a finishing marathon for my sister's Christmas ornaments. I had to do 7 of them, I think, over one weekend.
Yeah. Oh,
And
wow.
two of them were angels, which
Ooh.
those were actually not bad. The one that was the worst was a candy cane with a flippin' Santa with a hat in the middle. And I love what you just said about, don't put anything back there, just fold it and bend it, because that's the only way that I could get the darn thing to look even remotely decent.
Right. Right. You
Yeah.
can't, sometimes you just cannot. And the
Mm-mm.
designers or the people that are stitching them, they don't understand that, it's not as easy as you think to make that happen. You know what I'm finding with this? I'm about to make this. We can't shove a loop down in this unless I decimate the top of this. So I'm going to try to get all of this waste canvas buried, and we are going to have to do a loop that is a little different at the top. And we have to figure out a way to make it not have ribbons. It's, it's a really good trick though. Just not freaking out about having to have that board behind it or something like that. it's just saying, okay, we know it has support here. So we're not going to worry about, because, oh, I used to worry so much about it. And sometimes you just don't need it and you're making yourself crazy. 7 in a weekend, 2 angels. Yeah, you were definitely pushing the envelope.
My fingers were so sore, but I got through them all. I will say that like one was a little square and then I had a round. And so like I just did little bits of those while I was waiting for other things to, get past the next step or when I just needed a break and needed to work on something easy.
Right.
Yeah. The angels were easier than I expected. I was surprised about that.
Yeah, they're just annoying.
Yeah.
It's not that they're difficult once you figure out how to approach them. It's just they're annoying. And so my thing with the angels, the person that I'm finishing all of this stuff for, she wanted them stuffed. She didn't just want them puffed. She wanted them stuffed. And I said, well, can I just make them like, I do a regular ornament? No, they want it like this. No. And I was like, okay. So then it became where you're sewing all the way around it. Now you got to write it. Now you have these scallops at the bottom, and she wants it so overstuffed that the scallops disappeared. They literally, it just looked like a round bottom dress. So finally, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it and see what she says about it. And so I just did it like a standard puff that, now you're able to put the scallops under it and you just have a lot of puff in there. And oh, these are the best ones you've ever done. It's like, if you made me crazy with these other ones for how many years? I should have just followed my instinct and done it. Because wow, the wings never looked right. And now they're putting like little sailor hats and weird
Like-
little things on their heads, and people don't fill in between. And then how do you, yeah.
And they didn't need any more nooks and crannies to begin with.
Right. You have enough, especially up there, right around by the head.
Yeah, because of
Sometimes-
the neck and where the wings
Yep.
start. You got a
And-
good little nook there.
And so it got to the point where I would just throw a couple of white in there, stitches myself, because it really is not a design element that needs to be saved. It's not something that is a make or break.
Yeah.
The hilarious thing is that then she had me put these gigantic bows on them so it buried their little faces. It's like, why did we just do that? Oh, because you like it that way. Okay. That's fine. I learned a long time ago as a florist in shops that had wire services, FTD and all of that. Somebody wants this arrangement done just like this, and you do the best you can with the flowers you got. You just make it, and you and you go, I didn't pick it, that's what they picked for you, and you make it and move on. And so I really think it would be nice, or it will be nice for the people who learn to self finish, because they can start doing some next level finishing for themselves. They can, number one, figure out that certain stitches aren't great around the edge.
Well, I was in your class the other day where you're talking about the Krynic, and I'm like, good to know.
Yeah. Yep. And there's all kinds of, different things that you can do that might be cost prohibitive at another finisher. So somebody not too long ago was asking me if I would finish a birthday cake. That one birthday cake that's like stackables.
Mhm.
They stack up on each other, and they're just like bands, and then you put fabric on the top and the bottom. I started thinking about it, and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool for in a family, if this was like a family thing that you did, you pulled out the little cake and everything. What if you made those like boxes, like little hat boxes? So each layer had a little ornament in it. I thought, ooh, but you know how much that would cost for finishing. I mean, to send it to a finishing house, it's expensive enough as it is, I'm sure. It would absolutely be cost prohibitive. Well, for me. Somebody might think it's totally worth it, but I was like, oh, you could make those into like little compartments and line them and be little like cutie gifts in there, or treats of some kind. All right. But then the person said she found a shop that was going to not have such a long lag time because she wanted it for this summer. Because I said, I'll try to help you find a place. I wasn't going to take it on because I don't do direct finishing for people typically. So, all right, one more knot.
Wow.
Okay. Now I want to I want to stuff this a little bit and then do my gluing, because I need to get that a little rounded out. So what I use for pieces like this is the dry polyester packing stuffing for doll making and things like that. I guess I could actually use my wool that I used to needle felt with, the batting, the roving and things, because it's dry like this. Unlike the pillow stuffing that I use, which is called silky, for a reason, because it is super lush and stays where you put it. Oop. Still sitting here trying to think of, I know how I want to finish the top of this loop, but I also know that they don't want any ribbons. And
Yeah.
okay, see, we got a little bend in our interfacing here because it still wasn't small enough to curve. And I keep grabbing that piece of fishing line. but it'll smooth out, don't worry. I'm not concerned about it at all. Do you guys use standard polyfill? Have you used this dry stuff before at all? Anybody?
I've never used that stuff. I'll have to try that out.
Yeah, it's, you've got to watch it when it's certain kinds of materials on the back. Sometimes it can look like, you know, marbles in a bag
Mm,
if you don't stuff it quite right, because it just wants to, it'll pack into little hard, you know, because that's what you do. You do little bits, little bits, little bits when we're stuffing, and to avoid that, and yet it still wants to do it. Boy, you are just something else, little
Looks like it's trying
cone.
to-
So if you wanted to do one of the, I know you've seen them, the cones that hang and are fully lined. You're just gonna use the template that the tracing that we made earlier. And so it dried too fast. And shrink it by about go in about 1/4 of an inch, like we did with this on for the one side. And do a rough
Mhm.
line for where you think the top of the cone is going to fold over, so that you kind of know, and you're not going to pre-dart or anything like that until you get it in and you know exactly how deep it goes in. I think I've done like, I've only done 3 of those.
I'm not, they're almost done. So it's not really, I'm just thought I'd make sure I logged in so she'd see that I actually joined.
So, I want to get my templates out and see, oh, look at this. This is hilarious. I actually have a circle that I had cut for something else that is the right size. Yay. But typically what I would do is
Yeah.
have a ton of different sizes in here, and you can measure across and then grab the template. If you're organized, you have templates that are actually have the number on them. I just do it by eye. I'm terrible that way. All right. I wonder though, with my this is velveteen. It's a very thin velveteen. It'll make it sit up a little higher. I'm considering trimming off just a nib, but maybe not. No, I'm just gonna go for it. I also think it's very interesting that recently they've been doing a lot of baby booties on. I've been seeing a lot of those pop up recently. And the ones that I did a million years ago, yeah, they did not fit on a child's foot. At least not my kids with big feet. They were not, and they're so not fun to finish. My friend Cheryl at Cheryl's Finishing in Missouri, she was doing one. I said, oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've done anything like that, but now you're seeing them all over the place. So what I do with monograms is I measure out like this. So that's 2 inches above. And there's probably a much easier way to do this, but this is how I do it. And then I follow the line that's up here to make sure I have it straight. Because sometimes my machine being old, the bottom and the top aren't exactly great. And I do the same, but I'm not doing 2 inches from there. It's an inch and a half. And inch and a half. Then what I do is I eyeball it. Sort of. About an inch from there. That one's not quite, needs to come down just a tad. Looks about right. Unfortunately, my machine is so old, it stopped wanting to do tiny, pretty kind of monograms. So everything's pretty much block. And I have purchased, so mine's a it's an Iris Husqvarna, and it can do both. It can just be a regular machine, or you have this attachment that you can put on, right? And I have bought so many of the attachments off of eBay to replace that I have definitely gotten my money's worth out of this machine. Sounds a bit like a thrashing machine at the moment, but still doing a good job. I tried to replace it, tried to find just something comparable. Yeah, they wanted like $4 grand. I said, no. I will hire the local embroidery place that does all of the school uniforms to do it before I do that. And I'm surprised I didn't kill this machine a lot sooner than that, than I have, because when you're switching from one machine to the other, you have to put the teeth up for the to move the fabric along and down, and I constantly forget to put them down. So I'm pretty blessed with this machine. Gosh. Okay, looks good. I'm not in love with the velveteen that she gave me for this. It's quite thin. So I feel like it's a little bulbous sticking out. But dark, just like an ornament bottom. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the loop, make it tie in the center with the fishing line instead of having the waste canvas go to the bottom. Then I could do a bead cover, or I can just take some Krynic and do a little metallic wrapping around. That might work. Hide all of those mechanics. Okay. Looks pretty even. I know, 2020. I haven't had it that long. I don't want you thinking that. Somebody's old project. Since the seam's there, I'm going to put I'm gonna line it up like this. Kind of nice to not have to worry about making sure it's straight with the front and back stitches, and just push all of that down with a pin. Take this and come on, focus please. Oh my goodness, seriously. Angle it in and pull it up. Come over to the other side. Just got to press it in just a tiny bit because of the shape. Actually fits down in pretty good. Then what I'm going to do, even though I was just pushing that batting down in, I'm going to run my dowel needle up in, and I'm going to pull some of it back towards, because I don't want to feel like there's a void, but when I do stuffed things, it's like stand-ups, it's really difficult to make sure that you get it filled along that edge. You know, you try to overstuff it as much as possible, but then I end up taking a knife. Once it's pinned like this, I'll take a knife and I'll literally down in some more stuffing to make sure it's good and hard at the base and there's no weird empty void stuffing areas. It was raining so much here yesterday, they couldn't do the lawn, so now it's like crazy yard machine day. Not that I care. Oop, oop, oop. Stop that. Okay. Now, because I was just standing it on end, it looks a little bit like a hoo tree on the top. Take this. Let's get sewing. On the ornaments, you'll see me where I'll just do sew just the cording on and not sew the edge prior. Yeah, I don't do that on this. And I'm going to grab and go like this. I'm going to put my hole just to this side because I already have my knot here. Don't have to put it in that little seam. I like to grab the fabric and pull it back to the needle point when I'm doing it like this. But when I do an ornament, I always put the needle point in my left hand and stitch it that way. It's interesting. Sometimes I think how we hold things to manipulate it. I think I could have used another pin there. Oh, we're good. It's a blessing that we put the interfacing on this velveteen because it would have ripped through there the very first time. It is so thin. Usually she has stuff that's a little meatier than this. Boop, boop, boop. I'm curious to know, can you guys hear a very loud air conditioner going on?
Nope.
Good. The barn has a very large one up here, and when you guys said you couldn't hear the cars, because I can hear the cars on my recorded videos, you can hear them in the background. It's interesting that it's not on this. They must have a nice filter system on here. I'm definitely gonna have to add another a new thread to do the cording. I'm gonna pull roll that under that one row of stitching. Yeah, my thumb. I think. Yes. Gonna tuck that one in. Ow. As I'm going around and those stitches are ending and starting. Finding this interesting because of the curved bottom. It's like you can't follow the stitch line for sure. And the reason I'm talking about it is because I'm afraid I'm going to get a pucker as I go around. So I'm just trying to be careful. Almost. I think it's interesting. People keep asking if there's going to be videos of these, and it's like, not unless you take the class. And not if my computer doesn't take a friggin' video of them. Okay. 1, 2. It's really long. We can do one more. Cause that cording's relatively thin. Oh my gosh, you could take that cake design idea and you could actually make it a Hanukkah thing so that inside each layer was a box with a gift,
That's a great idea.
right? Oh, huh. I think that would go. I think so. And there's definitely enough icons to be able to have enough boxes. Okay. It doesn't know where to focus. It's still the tip. There's just no way to get that tip to look really nice, I don't think. Oh, I gotta go finish that through the material. And lose it, give it a tail. Always pull a tail through so that your fishing line knot doesn't have a short, easily broken tail. There, fishing line. So the reason why I do needlepoint to the left when I put the cording on is because I want to make sure that if for some reason the fishing line shows, it would be on the back side, which is not going to be seen as much, which is that side. Not that you ever do because of how we put it on, but and also because it just, I don't know. It's how I do it. Okay. Back over here. Now you want to make sure to hit the needle point, not just one side of, like not just the fabric, because it'll pull away. It can roll away if you don't have it up in the needle point as well. If you try to just run it along the edge that is just the fabric. Come on. You might get lucky. With the colors. I am not adverse to putting same colors next to each other. If there's no way that I can manipulate it and get it to work. Sorry, I'm wiggling you. I don't freak out about it. You do the best that you can to match them. And as long as the cording looks like it's smooth cording, then I don't make myself too crazy. And you may want to, instead of making your hanger out of this, out of this kind of cording, you may want to do a wire hanger at the top or a ribbon hanger, something that is completely different. I mean, obviously it's all, you can take it as fun as you want to. They have the cutest little glass beads at Joann's that are these little Santa faces. They crack me up. Santa heads. My sister, my daughter says they look evil, but I don't think they look evil. I think they look cute because they're like made from molten glass, like lampwork beads. Okay, so what we're gonna do. Oh, should I take it to? See, I thought I was gonna be able to. All right, I'm just gonna mash it and manipulate it afterwards. Thought I was gonna land right on that white. I think where it gets really tricky with the tricolors is when you are working with pillow with really thick cording, because you can't really twist it and manipulate it there either. Twist it so that the white, I don't think there's going to be any easy way to do this. Let's get it tucked in. As far as deciding on which color falls where. Can you see? Okay. I think I'm going to actually pull it in even further. It's going to be two reds right next to each other. And again, it's just a matter of pushing things around and manipulating them. I wonder, do I have enough play to push that one in? I might. I do. Just pushing that right under. Right? There we go. Isn't that funny? Didn't think it was going to make it. Oh, come on. I'm trying to figure out where that friggin' focus is at. A hole there. So now, do this. We're just gonna finish tacking it in. Not gonna get too fussy pots. There. Okay. I'm not bring it back through. And it right here. Come on, I know there's fabric there. Okay. Yay. Almost there. Now we just gotta figure out how to deal with the hanger. Okay. Kiwi tree. All right. It's still flowing out. Oh. So set that there. We want 3-inch-ish drop. Gee, that's a little big. Okay. So now what we're gonna do, I'm gonna give this a try, is putting the loop like this next to one another. Okay. That's too little. We're gonna get another piece up here. Wasn't thinking ahead on that one. And come on. Just gonna knot it there. Okay. So we got a couple of pieces here. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this little bit here just in case I don't like how this turns out. Just gonna mash that all together, get it to hold it. Okay. What you do, I do this for the tops of, there's, I don't know if you've seen the little triangle Santas. It looks like a little pyramid with the Santa faces on them. And then typically what I do is I put a cluster of bows around the top. But what I think I can do for this is just take some of the cry neck. So chop off as much of the extra stuff as you can without losing the integrity of holding on to the fishing line containing everything. Okay. So then come in and take the fluff and mash a little bit of hot glue in it. All right. Wet your finger. And the reason I want you to wet your finger, aside from it's hot, is when you wet your finger and you compress hot glue, it stays shiny. It doesn't go to that dull And especially on Kreinik, you're not even gonna see that that has glue on it. Okay. Right. Got a little extra nib there that did not stay shiny. So we're going to just reheat it a little. Smooth it out. Call it done. Now I could put a piece of ribbon over the top of it as well. Because this has kind of got a little bump there. See it? So then we just are going to sew it on the top. Need to try to smooth that bump down a little bit. Just kind of rolling it. All right, let's see if I use maybe the brown. So it's not so blatantly obvious against the red or the green of the tree. All right. Since we know that we have blue there anyway, we don't care if we add a little glue there just to grab hold of our Kreinik. Did I get it on there fast enough? It's starting to get cool in here with the air conditioning, so. So just going. Try to just spin some Kreinik around it. To cover this glue. Come on. Now. Yeah, I think that'll work. Where it looks like it's kind of undulating and bumpy, I will try to fill in by just doing more winds around to keep it smooth. Okay, see that? Definitely don't need the low light compensation on right now. All right, now we're gonna want to end it at the bottom somehow. don't want to use glue, so I am going to see if I can find a pretty fat needle. Um, the one time I want a straight needle, right? No, they're both the same size. Oh well, we'll use it. Really good thing I wouldn't be able to thread a standard needle right now. There we go. I do this a lot with tassels where you just stitch through it. You just so I just pulled that right through. And then I'm gonna go and grab another, go under. Come on. Like just under the thread, not trying to go through that glue. Under that fiber. And just push it through. So you don't have to have any more fishing line. You're just weaving it back and forth a couple times so that it will stay. Because now we're going to kind of do the same thing to attach it to the top. All right. So it'll just sit right on top with fishing line. Just like that. Because I don't know of another way to do it. And, you know, if I called her, she'd probably say, oh, go ahead, maybe. But when she doesn't put ribbon in with it, it typically means the person does not want any, so don't do it. I'm going to see if I can wheedle this up through. Where we already have our seam right here. Otherwise, I might consider trying to bury it through like I did with the metallic fiber. Yeah, that pulled right up in. You can't see it. I am going to have to deal with this little spot here though. Okay. I'm going to come up. How do I want to do this? Like a teeter-totter here. Make me crazy. Let's get started by maybe taking it straight through. There. Okay. Like so. I'm not going to worry about that it's sitting on there yet or not. There's our opposite side.
I'm going to push my needle through. So we're going to start a crisscross. Okay. Like that. There we go. Now I'm going to push it through. Since we still have a little play here. See if we can slide it. Got a bad angle. There we go. Ugh. Am I getting too far out? Yeah, I want to do like here to there. Okay, here we go, here we go. Come on, come on. Cinch it down. Now, you can make your life easy by having ribbons that cluster around the top. But this does show you a way to be able to put something on without them. There we go. We're going to pull it nice and tight. Yeah. I think we're just going to grab right through there and try to not. Come on, focus. Gonna go through our loop a couple times so it actually cinches down on that knot. And just pull it through. Excuse me as I'm back and forth in the camera. Now, I need to cut this off. And I want to take my dowel needle and manipulate the stitches that are around this piece here. Pulling all of those in to eliminate that white spot. I mean, there's still a little one there, but nothing like it was. Just push on it. Ah. You can usually just exposed the other one. There we go. There we go. Whew. Stop touching it, Kelly. All right. And there we are. All set and done. Our little Christmas ornament, cone ornament. So what do you guys think of this finish?
It looks beautiful.
Is it, have you, I don't even know if you guys have seen many of these around anymore, or, I mean, is it even it's funny, they pop up in the strangest places, you know? But I can say that my hanger is cockeyed. Because here's the seam in the back, so technically I'm a little off. But not too bad. Not too bad. So thank you
It
so
looks
much.
great.
You what?
It looks great.
Thank you. I hope that you guys got a few things, few tricks and tips out of this class. And I think that the video worked. So we'll be able to get this one out right away. And I have 2 other ones to load, which I'll get done this afternoon. And I'm going to dig around my computer and see if I can see where the Friday night round went, if I even got it. Thank you so much. And if anybody's on for the pillow tonight, I will see you then.
Thank you.
Take care, Susan.
Thanks,
Bye,
Kelly.
Chris.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye,
hon.
Jennifer. See you, Priscilla.